Hi there, Neil here from Sanako. We help people teach and learn languages. Be part of a global community of educators and subscribe now for the latest tips and tricks on how to get the most out of your classroom. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 5 teaching methodologies used by educators virtually and in the classroom around the world today. We will also provide the pros and cons of each methodology. We would like you to take part in this video, so in the comment section below, please write your favorite teaching strategy which you use in your classroom and why. Remember, there are no wrong answers. Each teacher has their own pedagogical style depending on the situation, just as each student has their own way to learn and digest your lesson. There will also be a poll where you can vote, and we will find out among all of our subscribers which is the most preferred teaching methodology. So let's get started. The first approach is probably the most used among second language acquisition teachers and also the most fun for students. That is the communicative language approach. Can you guess what is the main core of this methodology? Yes, communication. The point of this methodology is to get the students talking. Quantity, not quality. We are not looking for accuracy here. We are looking for students to produce. In a lesson such as at the doctor's, a teacher would facilitate a role play where in pairs the students are doctors and patients, and let them produce language, even with errors. Then, afterwards, the teacher would join the class together and review the mistakes. So, let's look at some pros and cons of this approach. Firstly, it promotes communication and fluency in a student's second language. Also, it's a great way to boost their confidence, to have them speaking right from the start. Finally, it encourages the learner to use the language in a realistic context. However, there are also some negatives to the communicative language teaching approach. As mentioned, there is a lack of focus on grammar and accuracy. This is also a little bit challenging sometimes for shy or introverted students. Indeed, students must already have a foundation of the second language before they can start producing anything. Okay, let's take a look at our next teaching approach now. Similar to the communicative language teaching approach, the task-based learning approach is a goal-oriented communicative exercise. Let's imagine we are designing a lesson for at the doctor's. The teacher would allocate an activity for each group or pair. For example, this could be writing a prescription or filling out a medical form. Students would work together in order to complete this task. The teacher would shadow the classroom, walking around, listening out for mistakes. Then, when the activity is finished, the teacher would call the students back and comment and give feedback on the errors made. Let's look at some pros and cons of this teaching methodology. Firstly, it provides students with real-world goal-oriented tasks. It encourages them to collaborate and communicate together. Indeed, this involves some critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Cons, however, are that it can be time-consuming to design and implement such tasks. Also, students already need to have a foundation in their second language before they can start to feel a benefit from this task. Indeed, there is a lack of focus on grammar and accuracy, similar to the communicative approach. Okay, let's take a look at our next teaching methodology. Next, let's look at content and language integrated learning. In a CLIL lesson for At the Doctors, students would use authentic medical material to learn vocabulary, for example, about medical procedures or medical ailments. In turn, they would also focus on language use through reading comprehension or listening. In a CLIL activity, teachers would use authentic texts or videos, and students could work in pairs or in groups to complete the task. The pros of a CLIL classroom is that it integrates language and content learning. This in turn engages the student in a more meaningful learning experience. Doubly so, this is beneficial for academic purposes, not only language learning. However, there are some negatives to a CLIL classroom. A high level of proficiency is required in order to truly understand the content being provided. There is also a lack of grammar and accuracy in the delivery of the language. Finally, sourcing the content for a class may be challenging for a teacher. Okay, let's take a look at our next teaching strategy. Now we have the direct method, an oldie but a goodie. I'm sure many of you have experienced this method. I know I have. This is the traditional method where the teacher is the center of the classroom. He or she is standing at the front of the classroom using visual aids to elicit a response from the student. For example, in a lesson at the doctors, a teacher could use prompts or flashcards, for example, to elicit a response from the students. The teacher would correct them simultaneously as the class is progressing. Some pros of the direct method are that, as it is teacher-centered, students are usually engaged, and this helps them to practice their speaking and listening skills. Also, it helps them to respond in a natural and fluid way. Indeed, it helps students to use their second language without resorting back to their native tongue. Some cons of the direct method include teacher expertise. In order to deliver a direct method class correctly, teachers need to have some amount of expertise in the area to provide engaging and interactive classes and activities. If not, students may become frustrated with the lack of knowledge that they have in the target language. Finally, the application in the real world is somewhat questionable. Learning phrases or abstract vocabulary may not be as applicable as if it were applied in other teaching approaches, such as the communicative or task-based learning. So, the final and arguably the most effective teaching strategy, okay, I'm a little bit biased, is that of audiolingualism. Just what Sanako Connects uses to help second language learners acquire new languages. In an audiolingual lesson plan of At the Doctors, students would listen to phrases synchronously in a language lab in the classroom, for example, or asynchronously at home on their computer. They would listen to these pre-recorded sentences and repeat, practicing their intonation and sentence stress, mostly through drills. So, let's look at the pros of the teaching strategy audiolingualism. Firstly, it emphasizes accuracy and fluency in language use. It also provides extensive practice opportunities. Indeed, it develops listening and speaking skills. Okay, But what are the negatives of an audiolingual teaching methodology? Well, the core skills of writing and reading may be neglected. Students may find the exercises somewhat repetitive over time. Indeed, there may be a lack of personal or creativity expression. So, there you have it. The top 5 teaching methodologies used by educators around the world. Which one is your favorite? Let us know in the chat below. For more tips and tricks on how to get the most out of your classroom, subscribe to Sanako.